Hey folks, welcome back. Today we're finally going to stick this thing in here, show you what that's all about. And after we'll give you a little tour around the engine compartment and we'll see what's what. So stick around. As I've mentioned, I'm using the Corvette brake pedal and master cylinder mount and steering column mount. So right now everything is mounted. Here's the master cylinder mounts here. Steering column is in here. You might have seen in previous videos of some other things. I actually made a cardboard template here that fit in here. Over here to kind of enclose this, and I took that and I made a cover cardboard as well that kind of fit in there, and this is sort of what the Corvettes sort of look like, except that's all done in fiberglass in front of their firewall. I went ahead and made, after that, a thin gauge aluminum version. So I actually went that way and bolted on there. And this is what you might have seen. I was using that when I was mocking up. If you look at the hood pin video that I did, I had made a sheet metal cover, much heavier duty than what than that aluminum was, and mounted it using that aluminum piece, and I got a spot here for one of the hood pins. The other hood pin is over there, and so that worked out pretty good. But I discovered that this was just not, the aluminum was just not sturdy enough to support the front end, because you have the power booster and the master cylinder hanging off the front of this thing, and so there's quite a bit of weight in this, even where this is mounted into the steering column mount, which is mounted on the roll bar. There's still a little bit of play in there, so I wanted a solid mount here. So I've gone ahead and made this now out of, well, I guess it's 4 pieces. These two are currently bolted together. I've used the J-nuts and some rubber strip to seal it, and this will bolt in here. I can actually put this on in one piece, I think, but it does come apart. Once I do that, then I can bolt the master cylinder in. I'll show you here. Then I have another filler piece at the bottom that goes in there, and there's a rubber collar that I made that will go around and seal the steering column hole up in here. And then this last piece will screw on top there. Okay, got it all bolted together here now. I got the rubber gasket there shoved on part ways. I'm going to have to lift the car up and get underneath to shove it up the bottom and wrap it around there. I'll do that when I put the brake line in. I'm ready to put the master cylinder in. Easier, guys, if you go ahead and bolt the cylinder to the power booster first. Just these are really hard to reach. By the way, this was the arrow when GM was kind of, am I metric or am I not? These here 15 millimeter. Same assembly, stud on the other end, 9/16. Just like down here on the steering coupler, 7/16 on this side, 12 millimeter on that side. What are you going to do? All right, let's get this in here. You can see why it's so much easier. He said to put it in this way. Well, I've got it here. With this two-piece with the cover, I can reach the nuts here from the top rather than having to crawl around underneath under the dashboard. So this is going to be much easier. Should be able to get the bottom ones in from up here too. Once I drop it, that one's started. One more. This one's a little tight down there. I think before I got this one from down below. All right, I also have the socket here. I might need the long socket. Let me check. Yeah, need the long 9/16. Combination of doohickeys here. Watch your ears. See her pulling herself into place nicely. Yeah, I'm gonna get that one from below underneath with the long extension. Just hang on a second, don't go. A little bit of crawling around underneath. She's in there. Do a little bit more tightening up on the top here. And we'll put the cover on. Where is that cover? All right, this is all tightened down, solid. And here's the cover. I've got the pin back on. It should slide right in here. I've gone ahead and put rubber stripping around the edges to seal the water in, particularly this upper edge right over here. It's going to be a little bit of a fitting challenge, but I'm using a little different hardware than I put it together with before. So I've got stainless steel screws over here. So I have to kind of get it to all line up a little bit. And then torque it down. I imagine I'll have to readjust the hood pin a little bit. Make sure that these are all lined up here. Kind of a rule of mechanical assembly is get everything in loosely before you tighten anything. Making sure these are threaded in there. There's a couple more screws that go up in here as well. So anywhere where there's plywood behind fiberglass, I'm using these heavy number 12 maybe stainless steel screws. So here, and then on this other side here, anywhere where it's sheet metal together, that's just bolted with U-nuts, what they call them. All right, I'm gonna try to cinch this in here. There we go. There it is, all enclosed. I'm not going to say 100% weather tight, but that's what seam seal is for. But it looks pretty good to me. I just got to get those brake lines hooked up, and then we'll have a look around the engine compartment. All right, well, the brake enclosure and lines are all done. That all looks great. Needs a vacuum line and bleeding. That channel that's down there in the corner, aluminum C channel, it serves a couple of purposes. It stiffens the front fender where I had to cut away for clearance to fit the brake booster under. But I'm also going to use that as a wiring channel. It goes right back to the firewall, and I'll have a enclosure on the other side. So I'm going to run wiring through there. Any wiring that comes up from the main box down behind the firewall up through here, and then it'll cross over. I ended up having to put a upper radiator fill cap because the radiator ended up being down lower than the housing, the thermostat housing. So much like the newer Corvettes, which this is a newer Corvette radiator, you have to have a upper fill and a special fill procedure. So there are two caps. The one in the lower will be a higher pressure, and the other one is whatever pressure it came with, probably 8 pounds. I ditched the clutch fan that was on the water pulley. If you saw the start video, you saw overheating. I really didn't have a shroud to speak of. This car came with this crappy fiberglass shroud over there. I don't know why I kept it, but there it was. I'm not going to put that back. Wouldn't fit, and I didn't really want to make another one. So ditched the fan, and I bought 2 electric fans and shroud assembly that are the perfect size for that radiator because they're made for a Corvette. As part of the dual filler, you can see there's an overflow that comes from there that tucks underneath this flap here for now. I can also use that for running wiring. It's a temporary flap. I'll put a piece of sheet metal there when I'm done to fill it in, but both of the overflow tubes will come out over here. I've got to put an overflow tank somewhere. I'm kind of waiting on that because air conditioning. So as I mentioned, I've got this is just mock-up, a bracket here for air conditioning. Maybe look at it on this side a little bit. This mounts to and this is just resting on here, this mounts to the exhaust bolts and the water pump. And I'm just saving space right now for air conditioning compressor, which I guess is maybe about the size of a can of coffee. It's going to sit over here. And so I've got to reserve space here for that. You see that comes all the way almost to the the side panels, so air conditioning space here. I could put the overflow here on this side, maybe on that side. Either way, I've got to run the two hoses together. But with air conditioning, I also need a place to put a dryer. Obviously, the condenser's here. Maybe the dryer will fit up in the front, or the dryer will be here and the fill over there. Remnants of my temporary wiring from the start, and there's of course the battery housing, battery tray. We'll be going into wiring pretty soon. I have a tight fit here with the air cleaner, and I'd like a little more clearance to the under hood for some hood insulation, so I had to put a carb spacer to make that clearance off the HEI. Maybe I'll just shave the cap, the coil cap on the HEI. I probably should have got a small cap HEI. I didn't know at the time that was going to happen. But that's what I've got so far. There's a few more things left to do. But it is coming together pretty well. I think that'll wrap up. The only last thing is on this cover here. I think that's a good place for the Victress data plate. Thanks for watching. See you next time.